Hey, it's Jeremy from OpticHouse.com. So, I should probably call this video What I Do When I Screw Up. I'm doing thumbnails for a couple of panels from Morningstar issue 3. The book is already completed, but what I was working through were a couple of panels that just didn't come out the way I wanted to. The particular ones I'm drawing now are supposed to be Lucifer, Ariel, and Remiel sort of escaping from a bunch of demons, kind of disappearing into the darkness. I wanted to sort of capture a little bit of passage of time as they go away, because this cuts to a scene later on where they meet up with Michael. And I just didn't like the way that it originally came out in my finished pages, so I went through, and usually there's always like 3, 4, 5 different panels, occasionally an entire page. I'll take it all the way to completion. I'm still not happy with it. And when that happens, I come back and I try to give it my best shot to improve the structure. This next shot that I'm drawing right now, I'm trying to work out. There's a scene where Michael comes out of a tunnel, and then a bunch of demons come pouring after him, chasing him, and he's kind of like telling the archangels, "Hey, he just says run," or I can't remember what the dialogue was. Maybe it was go, but no, I think it was ride, because the other angels were supposed to be getting on their horses and riding away. And I was just struggling figuring out how to compose this in such a way that it felt like there was a flood of demons chasing him, but also having it line up neatly with the panel that came before it, because I want to get this sense of like the angels are in the middle of arguing about, they don't. Lucifer says he's staying, he's not leaving without Michael, and then Remiel is like, "Nah, that's how we lost Ariel before. We're not going without you. Either we all go or none of us go." And then Lucifer, right in the middle of saying that, she sees Michael come flying around out of this tunnel, and he's like, "Ride!" And then more demons pouring after them. I don't think in this video I show the failed, or quote-unquote failed panel I did before. And the reason why I say it, quote-unquote failed panel, is because as I was recording this video, it's not like I knew I was going to come up with a better solution. I was going to try and do a better job than what I had on the page, but I might have done all these thumbnails and sat down, spent an evening sketching, and at the end of it said, I don't have it. I don't have anything better. And just what was in the page would have stood. That's what would have been in the book. But I always feel like it's worthwhile to try, to at least make the effort to come up with something a little bit better and see if you can push your visual storytelling and push the scene to something further than what you'd like. In the incarnation that was originally done, the panels were, I think it was 3 or 4 tiers, or not 3 or 4 tiers, there were 3 or 4 vertical columns, and finally I changed it to horizontal rows, and that seemed to be what worked for me. So then I switched over, first the angels walking off into the distance, and I printed out my layout pages on vellum like I normally do. You can see very faintly there's panel borders on there, and what I do is I draw it in red, then I flip it over, basically flipping my pages on a light box, except I'm using a sheet of vellum instead of a light box, and then I just go in and redraw it and add some registration marks, which you saw me do there real quick. Then for the panels that were originally horizontal or vertical columns, you can actually see faintly the 3 columns there, and now I changed it to 3 horizontal grids instead of 3 vertical columns. And this one now, I don't know for the life of me why I started with the demons in this shot. Maybe because that was supposed to be the biggest. Maybe I was trying to start with the final part of that sequence and work backwards, which sometimes helps me build the rest of the page, because then in each panel I can more clearly set up the visual cues of what's going to happen. But yeah, just sat down, got in here, rendered out, Ariel's in the middle of arguing, or Remiel's in the middle of arguing with Lucifer, and she just, turns around, Michael comes flying out, and he's like, "We gotta go." Demons kind of pouring out of the background, and then going into the nice close-up shot. And it's interesting, I tend to instead of roughing out one complete panel then moving to the next, I tend to block in the background and where the major figures are, and then I'll come in and I'll try to do passes where I increase the detail, like Then I'll go in and increase the detail on the faces, and then increase the detail on the bodies. Then, I flip the page, and, I'm drawing on the backside of the vellum. Again, this is one of those things, artists got to flip your pages. It'll reveal all kinds of anatomical flaws that you wouldn't have noticed before, structural flaws. Thanks again to Carl Altstetter, Comic Carl on DeviantArt. He's been on my ass about it for years, and now I'm finally, I'm one of the converted now. So, yeah. But after this, I just took these parts, the black and white fixes, the traces, the flipped panels. I would scan those in, flip them back the other orientation so they're facing the proper way in the book, enlarge them, and print them out on Bristol board, ink them, and that's what's in the final book. So this is how I solve problems in comics, because I don't know, a lot of times I end up with a finished page and I'm like, I didn't bring home the bacon. And whenever possible, I try to go back and just bring it up to whatever level I can. So, hope you enjoyed it. That's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. Go be creative.